Good evening, welcome all of you. Here we are having a brief discussion on change yourself fast. That is the topic of discussion. It is to be discussed right now. Change yourself fast. Change yourself. That is a very big question before us, because we have to change. Change is the law of the nature. You must change. It is the law of the nature. You can't lie static till the in unexpected time. You can't remain unchanged, because change is the law of the world. Then we come across the phase, be the change you want to see, because in many ways we want to see the change, but thing is that change will not come all over the night. It is a phenomenon. It is a steady process. It is time taking process. So the Rome was not built in a day. The change is bound to come. There is no doubt of it. But thing is that it has need of time. So consistently, persistently, steadfastly, and you have to move on towards the change. And this change, you must have the idea in your mind and ideology in your mind, what really you want to change, how to change, where to change, when to change, which one to change, how much to change, how long to change. So these are the different questions before us. So be the change you want to see. Suppose you have any ideology that I want to change, I want to see the change. First you begin the change from you. Then again comes the next phase of discussion. If you want to change the world, try to change yourself. If you don't believe that the world will change, so that I can change, it is there. As environment is there, surrounding is that there. According to the change in the surrounding, the system changes. System is the confined atmosphere, surrounding spreads around it. So the change is bound to come, and the surrounding affects the system. But thing is that in most of the cases, you have to see the change must begin from you. You can't expect that the world will change so that I will change. It is that the concept is now one forgotten concept. It is not there. You have to stick to the change. Again, change is a change, not for a changeless change, littleness where you meant. You are meant changeless littleness. First of all, this littleness and changeless, it will not change. That is not the question of the hour, because that idea, that ideology, that thought has been expired entirely. So not for a little changeless littleness where you meant, because you have change is the law of nature, and you are at the forerunner, pioneer of change. So change is bound to come. Again, we can go and has come across some of the things. Change yourself first. If you change yourself, and in the very beginning, if somebody or people, the world sees you are changing, then and your thought process is changing, your systematically your lifestyle is getting elevated to the upper layer, then for that actually your thought process must change. So with the change of your thought process, your lifestyle will change, and with the change of your lifestyle, you will find a greater done. For that actually, at the very beginning, a greater consciousness is bound to come. With this change of consciousness, your thought process, your lifestyle, everything will come, will change. So this change is a must. Change must be boundless. Change not only one or two process or one or two steps ahead, but the thing is that there must be a big change. You have come here for that transformation, for the perfection. So it is not the thing like going one or two steps, changing from from the dhoti or a lungi to the pajama or dress. That is the change. It is one step ahead. It is a change. So, but thing is that you need the overall change, entire change, throughout change. So this change is absolutely necessary. and it is the right time to change. Sometimes we are there, okay, let the time will come, we will see, and you will find that a time can the tide waits for none. You have to change. That is the go of the society, and that is the call for right now. If you change yourself, then the world will change. Try to change yourself in order to change the world. So with the change, you have to see the another. Once you change in externally, then nothing much will change. There is a need of inner change. Then it will clearly come the inmost change. From inside outward is the rule. But for this change to take place, there must be an aspiration, there must be an willingness, so that it will change. Now we'll quote a few lines from the mother, because mother herself quotes the term that change yourself first. From mother quotes, you can do nothing with others unless you are able to do it with yourself. Very frank, very crystal clear statement, very cleanly observed sentence, very well observed sentence that you can do nothing with others unless you are able to do it with yourself. You do it with yourself first, then the change will come. Then you can think of changing the changing the others. You can do nothing with the others unless you are able to do it with you. So you can never give a good advice to anyone unless you are able to give yourself first. Suppose you want to give one good example, good advice to others. First, you give the good advice to you. You can know that example, that mother and the son coming and meeting a guru. I want to. My son is taking so much of molasses. He should leave it. He should not eat. Guru and then asks, maybe it was incident from Mahatma Gandhi, and simultaneously it was from Ramakrishna Paramahansa. They advise you come after 7 days. After 7 days, they have mother and son come. What is to be done? You come after 7 days. Mother is a little bit worried, little bit confused. What is going on? Simply things. My son is taking so much of molasses. He has to leave. Then why 7 days? Then another 7 days. And the Guru says, on the 14th day, Guru asks the guy, the kid, you just leave your, you don't take molasses so much. Don't take, leave it. So this mother is confused. To only your this small advice. Why are you delaying for 14 days? We have come for 2 3 times. How is it possible? What is the reason behind it? Then the guru is explaining. When you came and you asked the suggestion, then I was taking that molasses. I wanted to leave, so that if I can be able to leave the molasses forever, then my advice will be very much effective for him. So I have asked you to come again and again. So here also mother is having same thing. You can never give good advice to anyone unless you are able to give it to yourself first, and to follow it. Not only advice, give advice to yourself, and it has to be followed in your part. If you are very much prominent, very much actually straightforward in accepting it, then something will change. Again, mother quotes, if you want to see difficulty somewhere, the best way of changing it, this difficulty, is to change in yourself first. You know, when you find something wrong in others, there is nothing wrong in others, but that really that the wrong is in yourself. So here, mother quotes, if you see some difficulty somewhere, the best way of changing the difficulty is to change in yourself. First you change yourself, then the difficulty will go. And mother quotes, if you see a defect in anyone, fine, very fine. If you find a defect in anyone, you may be sure that it is in you. That defect is not in others, it is well inside you, and you begin to change in yourself. Very interesting. 3 or 4 good terms mother has quoted here. What give if you want to give never give advice unless you give advice to yourself first and follow it. Second, if you see any difficulty somewhere, the best way of changing the difficulty is to change yourself first. Third, and if you find any defect in anyone, it may be you may be sure that you you begin to change in yourself. And when you will have changed it in yourself. Suppose you have changed everything in yourself, then what happens? You will be strong enough to change it in others. That capacity, that practice has been practiced in you first. You have been succeeded in following the right thing in your life, and you have practiced it, you have willed it, you have practiced it, you have succeeded in that handling that one. Then your advice will be genuine, and it will have a very effective result. Then mother course, this is a wonderful thing. People does not realize what the infinity grace it is, that this universe is arranged in such a way that there is a collection of substance. This wonderful world, so many things have been arranged in a systematic way. People, they don't think, they don't understand, they don't go deeply inside. That is the problem. Some other quotes, from most material to the highest spiritual, most material to the highest spiritual, and all that is gathered together into what is called a small individual. What is gathered, it is called a small individual, but at the uh, disposal of a central will. That is the entire thing around which everything moves. That is the central will, and that is yours. Your field of work. That is what central will. That is all. That is, and that is yours. Your field of work. Nobody can take it away from you. It is your own property. This is your own property. As you know, ball is in your court. It is your property. You know how to move it. You must know how to utilize it. These are the main thing you must know. And to the extent you can work upon it, to the extent you work upon it, that everything depends upon that. How you will. What is your central will? How you are carrying out your will, and how far you have succeeded in your will, and how long you are persistent in your will. Everything depends upon that. The extent you can work upon it, you will be able to have an action upon the world. This central will, if I can be able to act upon this central will with a better motive, then it's fine. So, but only to that extent, one must do more than oneself. Besides, one does for others. So one must be more for oneself beside than one does for others. So everything, it must begin, it must start, it must be realized really in your life. In You have to start it from, begin it from yourself. Then the next spreading will be towards the world. So from the surrounding to system, everything was changing. Now the change will be in the reverse direction. I mean, from system towards the surrounding. So the surrounding system, that explanation is that we have seen. Suppose there is so much hotness outside, you can find hot inside you. But thing is, so there is cold outside, means you will feeling some chillness. But here something is there. In most of the cases, it is spiritual. That feeling, that the sensation, actually, it affects the surrounding. You started from in a very little manner, in a very from the small house, from a small surrounding, and it spreads and spreads and spreads like anything, and the hurts the surrounding, and the surrounding is bound to change. This it is changing. So we'll right now few quotations will quote from Sri Aurobindo on change. The consent of all the being is necessary for the divine change. Divine change, for that is the consent of all the beings. All being is necessary. Unless otherwise they change, it is very difficult to get the final integral and the divine change. So for the divine change, the consent of the all the being is absolutely necessary. It is there, it has to. The inner must change before the outer must can follow. From inside outward is the rule I have already explained. I have quoted you initially. Here in the post, the inner must change before the outward can change. Inner, as long as it is, there is no change. You can take that molasses example, or with anything else. So, from inside outward, or that change, it to takes place. Inner must change before the outward can, before the outward can follow. All would change if a man would be once consent to be spiritualized. That is the only thing, only solution. There is no other big solution with you. All must change if man would once consent to be spiritualized. Being starting, not starting, that is coming later. But thing is that for the change, one must know, feel, see, will, aspire, so that consent to be spiritualized. That is one. And finally, during the course, all forms of life that can bear the change must disappear. Very clear, got example, and a very crystal clear one, as here has outright spoken the truth. All forms of life that can't bear the change must disappear. If can't bear the change, it must disappear. There is no doubt of it, no other way. All that can bear it will survive. That can't bear must disappear. That all that can bear, that can survive. And if survives, the next condition is enter into the kingdom of the spirit. So if it can't bear, it will disappear. If it can't bear, it can't bear, it will perish. Can bear, survive, and the next step is enter into the kingdom of the spirit. And Mother quotes, here in the quotes finally, very beautifully, very interestingly here in the quotes. One who wants to change earth nature must first accept it in order to change it. So you want to change the earth nature. If you want to change the world, try to change yourself. Be the change you want to see. First you collaborate. First you consent. The world is preparing for a big change. Will you help? I shall save earth if earth consents to be saved. Many ways, many ways, many ways. See here also, it is a very brilliant message from Sri Aurobindo. The one who wants to change earth nature, must first accept it in order to change it. This earth nature he has to accept. Then only the change will come, and later with this change he will go to, slowly and steadfastly will enter the kingdom of the spirit. Vandana.